So in this video I want to speak about Turkmenistan, which is a country ending in stan, which is in Central Asia, or lots of countries in that part of Asia and the world. Turkmenistan, Kazakhstan, Afghanistan, Pakistan, all those countries in these areas of the world where lots of desert is, and the desert is there because you had gods fighting, like in the Mahabharata stories. So the creators or whoever was our gods, they were fighting each other with bombs and stuff like that, and that's why we have these places in the world where nothing grows. But again, of course, people do not understand that, and they just call you a lunatic and a crazy man. So Turkmenistan, which is, by the way, is very similar to Turkey, because Turkey, you have Turkey as a country and Turkmenistan as a country, and the people in Turkmenistan, they call themselves Turkmen. So why Turkmen? Because a Turkman would be a person from Turkey, right? Even though between Turkmenistan and Turkey there's the Caspian Sea and other countries like Azerbaijan and Georgia, but of course Americans and Europeans don't care about this because they only care about their own countries and the neighbors around. Like if you're in France, you only care about Spain and the UK and Germany because that's your neighbors. All the other countries, they're somewhere lost in space in the middle of nowhere. But yeah, the problem with Turkmenistan is that on that region of Turkmenistan, there was Tartaria or Tartaria back in the day on the ancient maps. All these areas in Asia were part of Tartaria or Tartary. And if you look at the architectural stuff and the buildings and the towers and the power stations, which are not temples, they call them temples or mosques, but they're not religious temples. They're just the power stations that use free energy from the atmosphere, so free atmospheric energy, which everybody was using until the First World War, when it was prohibited and forbidden. And if you check the expos from the 19th century, they had electric cars and free water and free electricity and free, all that stuff was free. And lots of technology, and everything was different back then because the world was more human than it is today. Now, of course, what's interesting is that for these countries like Turkmenistan, which is the only lost country, I call it the lost Tartaria, because energy there was free, so every human being had free water, gas, electricity, and oil to use for themselves, just because you were a resident in Turkmenistan. And now that is over. So after 27 years of free stuff, it's over. Interesting enough, it was possible for them to have this back in 1993, after the Soviet Union collapsed artificially, because as you know, Gorbachev, when he signed the papers, Gorbachev had a right-wing man who was from the US, so the secretary of Gorbachev was US American, so everything was planned, of course. But it's interesting how a country, when in primitive times, when they had no infrastructure, and it was after the collapse of the Soviet Union, they were able to give the population free energy and free electricity and free gas and free water and free everything. And now 27 years afterwards, this was in 2017, it was impossible anymore. It was not possible anymore. So in Ashgabat, the capital, you see, if you check some news, I'm just going to read some news here. So for example, as Turkmenistan prepares to put an end to the era of free energy, authorities in the country's capital, Ashgabat, are banging on doors to make sure citizens are prepared to pay. This was in 2015, and with only weeks before the energy-rich but economically challenged country halts generous subsidies for natural gas, water, and electricity, it is determined to see households install devices for measuring usage. Until that point, in 2015, nobody was installing or had any devices to measure the use of natural resources, and afterwards, of course, you have to install them because, you know, people do not deserve to be free because we have artificially created economical crisis, and of course you need to pay for those. So benefits for a quarter of a century, all of a sudden they were taken away from the people by President Gurbanguly Berdimuhamedov. Of course, he's just a guy. There's others behind him to control the world, just like it happened in Venezuela and Romania and Russia and all the other countries that people don't care about because they only care about their smartphones and about playing video games. But yeah, gas meters, for example, will cost nearly $75, including the installation service. So you have to pay for the installation service, you have to pay for everything. And of course, it's interesting, right? Because in a country where most public sector workers are estimated to make between $200 and $350 a month. So you earn between $200 and $300 a month, and you have to pay for the installation of the services, and you have to pay for everything. So of course, that's the way how you destroy a nation, and you destroy the human beings in that nation, the same way that they did with all the other countries in the former Soviet Union and in Africa and in America and etc., etc. But of course, who am I? I'm just a guy who makes YouTube videos, and of course people are not going to believe this because people don't care, right? I mean, if you're a bank director in the States or in the UK, or you have a super amazing, ultra impressive job that pays you, I don't know, $5,000 a month or something, dollars or euros or British pounds, then of course you don't care, right? But of course, if you're a normal common mortal that barely scraps the bottom of the place you live in, because in the UK and the States there's also people like you and me who just live on a daily basis, right? But yeah, I mean, it's interesting how back in the day, back in the 90s, these people in Turkmenistan, the Turkmen, they had 35 kilowatt hours of electricity and 50 cubic meters of natural gas, and also 250 liters of water per day. And according to the news, Turkmenistan has dealt with a financial crisis in recent years, and that has led to the severe cash shortages and difficulties, of course, because yeah, back in the 19th century, people had everything they needed, and they were living nicely, and afterwards you have to change history, and you have to censor technology, and now you have to, be aware that, you have smartphones and you have the internet, but that's it, and lots of CRAP. There's other news here, like, for example, Turkmen ruler ends free gas, power, and water for citizens. If you make a search, but of course you have to search on the search engine DuckDuckGo, because if you search on Google censors information, so it's not allowed for people to know certain stuff. So that's why the info on Google, it comes on the 10th or 20th page, or on DuckDuckGo it gives you the information as it should be. But anyway, so yeah, I guess that's the only thing here. It's just about the subsidies being taken away from the people, and struggling Turkmenistan to fall for the energy prices falling since 2014, because Russia has ended its purchases of the gas from the country. So of course, what do you do? But that doesn't make any sense, right? Because a country could close itself and just offer paradise for the people living in the country, right? We don't need Russia, we don't need America, we just live with our people, right? But of course there's more to that than just your typical blah 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 political stuff. Turkmenistan cuts last vestiges of program for free utilities. Of course, you have to take everything away from the people, and the people are just insignificant dogs that have to pay for everything, because that's how we are meant to live, as slaves. And yeah, I mean, hopefully YouTube is not going to punish me for this, because I'm just saying the truth, man. Like, come on. I mean, Turkmenistan has been a free country for a long time. Nobody cared anything because there was no internet back in the day. People, you would speak with people, you would say Turkmenistan, and the Americans or the Europeans would ask you, how do you eat that? Is it dinner, or is it a dessert, or is it something you can eat with chopsticks? Because people don't care about ancient or former Tartaria and Tartary and all these countries like Turkmenistan and Kazakhstan and Afghanistan and Pakistan and Kyrgyzstan. You speak about these countries and nobody knows anything. So yes, hopefully you enjoyed, and hopefully the video behind me shows you the truth. You see all the buildings, like they are power stations like we see in every other place in the world, that were using electric, atmospheric, infinite energy, which everybody knew about until the First World War, when the world came to an end as we knew it back then. And now we just have to live like we see in the movies The Matrix or The Island, or we have to serve our purpose as SLAVE. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care.